Call Beat Works here, coming once again with One Piece chapter 1166 entitled New Tales. So, we have a color spread this week in which we have the various Straw Hats, Yamato, Shinobu, and Otama in a autumn field with a bunch of tanukis and foxes as they eat baked sweet potatoes or yam. So, this is funny because Yamato's name sounds like yam. So that's initially funny. But Yamato being here is interesting because she's dressed more akin to the Straw Hats than Shinobu and Otama are, because Tama is wearing something that she doesn't usually wear, which is like regular clothes and shoes, but they are reminiscent of the colors she's usually in. So I don't really count that as a big change, and Shinobu's in what she usually wears. So I don't think those two are very important here. The important one is Yamato because she's wearing a sweater. This is the first time that she's ever been seen in a sweater. And that just seems to be it, like a full sweater dress thing, because her legs look like they're bare. And she's holding a sweet potato in aluminum foil with tongs while eating another one. And on her sweater has the number 15 and the phrase Odin ni Sora, which is based on the phrase Odin wouldn't be Odin if it wasn't boiled, which Odin says in the manga and anime. So that's a cool reference there. And I think it's cool that the number 15 is on her sweater because I think that has bigger implications for the Straw Hat crew moving forward when it comes to how many people are going to be under Luffy. However, we shall do a video about that in the future. Also, what's interesting too, and this could be a hit to her joining in the future, because on Zoro's hat, we have the words cast off, and on Nami's sweater, we have the words any port. So together, cast off at any port, or cast off in any port. So I find that very interesting. Very interesting. It may mean nothing. None of this has to mean anything. I just find it interesting. It's also very interesting that this is the second time we're seeing Yamato in something different other than her usual garb, because in the color spread for the Year of the Dragon, she was in a t-shirt. So like back then, this too is of the same vein, and it's quite eyebrow raising. It's quite interesting because what will this mean in the future? I don't know. I do know Yamato most likely will be the thumbnail for this video. Moving on, we have our chapter. Zebek actually has been exercised by the efforts of Garp and Roger, as everyone's laying down beat and defeated. And this is when we see how Garling became the head of the Holy Knights, because he approaches a very delirious Zebek along with Summers and Maffy, and he performs the killing blow on Zebek. So he literally was a jobber fraud this entire time, and he has no skills or any grace, just a really funny face. That's the whole bit here. That's crazy. Also, I wonder, where is Maffy now? Because she's not in the present, so that's something to look out for. But yeah, he performs the killing blow on Zebek, as Zebek thanks Roger and Garp for finishing him off and exorcising the curse from him. This, of course, leads into Gibbon and Rayleigh saving Garp and Roger as they make way for the ship. And this is when God Valley vanishes into the ocean. We don't know how this happens, seeing as how the Mother Flame was responsible for sinking Lulusia Kingdom into the ocean back in the present. So we don't know what caused God Valley to sink. Does this kill the idea that God Valley could be Thriller Bark? I'm not sure. Because it's really ambiguous as to how the island sunk in the first place. So I wouldn't say the theory's dead yet, but I would keep my eyes open for any developments regarding Thriller Bark in the future. So yes, the island sinks, the Rocks Pirates go their separate ways, Garp and Roger start recovering, Teach, Evolkov, Jenny, Kuma, and Eris are all safe. Flashing back to the Oro Jackson, Roger has recovered, and the Roger pirates are going through the treasure that they recovered from God Valley. Shockey is there as well, swooning over Rayleigh. And that is when we discover that the boy in the treasure chest is Shanks. And this was alluded to earlier on, so we knew that. And this is the exact image that was floating around back when Film Red came out. And it showed how Shanks was found in the treasure chest as a baby by the Roger pirates. So this is just the canonical insertion of that event happening. So I'm happy we finally get to see it. So that's cool. That's cool. But back around the world, everyone is reacting to Rox being defeated, and they just gave Garp the credit as the world government paid off Morgans to write the story and how they saw fit. So yes, Garp became the hero of the Marines based off of a fraudulent claim, which he is very upset about when he finds out. Sengoku tries to calm him down and saying that the Marines are wide and vast and he will not take a blind eye to promotion. So I would assume he's saying that because he more or less has the same moral standing as Garp and doesn't want the Marines to fall into disarray. So that's why he won't take a blind eye to promotion, which then ends up with Garp and Sengoku having a brawl in which Garp threatens that he would kill Sengoku if he ever became corrupted, and Sengoku is happy that he has someone like Garp to keep him on the straight and narrow. But then Garp goes on to say that he will not leave the Marines even after all that he has seen, because the Marines still need a guard dog. So I think that's why he internalizes the whole dog motif when you first see him in the story, because he sees himself as a guard dog that's trying to keep the Marines on the straight and narrow as much as he can with this ill-begotten status that he has now received as the hero of the Marines. But then we go to Elbaf, and this is where Loki finds out the news that Zebek has died. He has a flashback of him having various conversations with Zebek. Zebek is very annoyed that his son wants to join the crew and not Harold, and Harold's the one he's after. But that's when Loki thinks that Zebek is actually Nika, the warrior of liberation who will destroy the world while laughing. But that's when Zebek relays his dream to Loki and saying that he doesn't want to destroy the world, he wants to be the king of the world. But if anyone had the power to destroy the world, it would probably be Harold. And he says too that somewhere out there, the Galleria, which is that band of frozen giants who I believe were shipwrights. But he then goes on to say the only one who could put them back into play is King Harold. And Zebek would keep rounding up rogues of the world in order for the eventual team up between Harold and Zebek to be legendary. So I wonder what this is all about. Why are these giants so integral to Zebek's plans? But we leave off with Zebek saying to Loki that he'll come back again and again, and he doesn't care if it takes 100 or 200 meetings. Which, to be honest, if I'm even close, I could believe Loki being asked to join Luffy is a bit of a meeting in itself, because I do believe, more so than anybody else, Buggy and Luffy are the perfect mix of Roger and Zebek. So maybe Luffy meeting Loki is one of those 100 or 200 meetings. Maybe so. Not sure. This then translates into a certain island in which King Harold himself is beating the crap out of a fellow giant in a human city. And he blames evil giants for the reputation that giants have around the world to normal people. And while he's doing that, he's lamenting not helping Zebek in his time of need and is sad that now he is gone. That's something. That's really something. But it's weird, too, that he thought the world government just always had Elbaf's best interest at heart, or maybe he knew Elbaf was on thin ice as it was, so he didn't want to jeopardize the reputation of the island further by going with Zebek. And we see a bit of that in their meetings. So it's still kind of sad. It's still kind of sad that Harold never had enough resolve to team up with Zebek to actually take on the world and to defeat the atrocities going on in the world. Because now Zebek knew that the world was being ran by the closest they to the literal devil in One Piece, but Harold didn't know. So that's just interesting. Despite going to Marijois and seeing how corrupt they were, he didn't think the world government was something worth fighting against. But with that being said, you should take a stand against the subscribe button and click it, and take a stand against that like button and click it. And if you can find it, ring the bell of liberation so you never miss a Polypede Works video. And if you can find it as well, please click the hype button. I'm not sure what it does, but it does help. Anyway, getting back to our chapter. But then we are taken to Navy HQ underground detention center, in which Monkey D. Garp approaches Monkey D. Dragon, who has been locked up. He tells his father that he's going to quit the Marines. Garp agrees. He tells his father that he despises him. Garp agrees and hands him a key. So this is when Dragon leaves the Marines. And this is why we know now why Dragon says that he found no justice in the Marines, because of the atrocities committed on God Valley. So that all makes sense now. It's real weird that all the figureheads of the Revolutionary Army were at the same place at the same time, but we'll talk about that in another video. Anyway, flashing back to Elbaf. Harold arrives, and he says, "I've made up my mind, Ida. Elder Jarl, I don't care about appearances anymore." And he goes to his boys. And this is the scene that we see a little earlier on where he wants the two of them to get along and he holds them both. This is that scene, I believe, because he says, "Hadouken, Loki, you are both my precious sons. I want you to get along when I'm gone and do what you can to support Elbaf." That's when we see his ship right up to Marineford HQ. Some goober says he can't allow Harold to land, but Harold does it anyway. And he says, "High-ranking Marines and leaders of the world government, I ask that you please hear me out." Followed by him taking his hands to his horns and ripping them out of his head in a bloody display. Oh, okay, wow. That's crazy. And then he goes on to say, "Allow me to atone for the sins of the past 1,000 years. I apologize for every wrong the giant race has committed. The children of Elbaf are being raised to live without harming others, so that one day they may walk hand in hand with humanity. I do all this to prove our unwavering commitment to peace. I'll do whatever it takes to atone for our sins, even if it means becoming a slave." And that gets Emu percolating as we see their eye at the end of the chapter. Emu was all like, "Woo! See, Zebek, I get what I want anyway, dummy." But yeah, that's really interesting that he took Zebek's death that hard and how he was so idle in not helping him, and that he went a complete 180 and doubled down on his previous convictions and just became a dog for the world government. But we'll have to wait and see what becomes of all this. It's getting very juicy now, though. With that being said, that's all I have for you today. No break next week, which is very good. So give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Works.